What is going on, 5'9 Gamers? My name is Joe Eggs, and today I will be your host for your favorite podcast, the Dokkan Battle Podcast. Our podcast is presented to you by 5'9 Gaming. 5'9 Gaming is your source for all things gaming, anime, and entertainment related. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things 5'9. So today, a very special episode for y'all. This is episode 100, and we've got some special things coming up. So just to kind of tease what's going on, we're going to be revisiting the worldwide. I know it's been a hot minute since we've had the podcast. We've been preparing something very special for everybody. So we're going to take a little review of the worldwide celebration. We're going to talk about what's coming up new. We're even going to talk about some just argued hot takes in the community. But for this, we have some very special guests. We really lined up a good show for you today. So first off, I would like to introduce Tech Ultimate Gohan's biggest fan, Minato. How are you doing today?
For a second, I thought you were gonna say someone else for a reason, but yeah, it's me. I'm doing well today for sure. Yeah, Tech Gohan, this is great, like always. What can I say?
Still best unit ever?
Oh yeah, he's the best in the game.
Best in the game. Why not? He's uncontested. It's the reason people don't do stacking with guard guaranteed, right? It's just it doesn't happen. All right, next. Yeah, exactly. Next up, it's been a hot minute, but very nice to have back on the show the Super Battle Road King, the Mass Ningen. How are you doing today?
Yo, how's it going, everybody? Yeah, it has been a while, so I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, very nice to have you. And then last but not least, we've got the homie himself, Goresh. How are you doing today, Goresh?
Doing good. Been a few weeks since I've been on, so it's nice to be back, but yeah, it's ready to talk about some controversial takes. That's my favorite thing to do in Dokkan.
Yes, and we're saving the best for last. We're going to have that at the end of the show today. So first up, we're going to start off with just some new news, like some new stuff coming. And first up, we have Gamma 1 and 2. So we got a teaser. Initially, we were thinking this was JP only, but then Global had a teaser. So from my understanding, it seems like Global might get it a couple days after JP. It was kind of like spotty in the producer's letter, but it's going to be close. So we want to know, what are your thoughts on this? What does this mean going forward? Do we have a superhero event coming up? So Goresh, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on Gamma 1 and 2 coming?
Yeah, so definitely pretty exciting because this is really the first actual drop we've had from the movie. So just to get things started, I mean, obviously Gamma 1 and 2 are not like the big hype things from the movie. So still to be seen when that stuff will release, but I think just as like sort of an appetizer or a teaser or a tasting of what's to come, finally nice to see some superhero representation in Dokkan. And then in terms of the release, I know that they said that I think it was that JP's going to get this like a week or so before Global. Like I don't understand that, but I'm excited that it's going to be relatively close to releases on both versions.
Yeah, I don't understand the timing thing either because we're like pretty lined up with JP right now with our releases. So I don't know why they can't. They got to have their reason, right? So whatever it is, they've got it. So Ningen, what are your thoughts on Gamma 1 and 2?
I'm pretty excited to see what they're going to be like. I know, like Goresh said, they're not the hypest characters from the movie, but they are still pretty cool. And yeah, it is good to actually finally start getting summonable stuff. It does suck that they come out a week later. I'm assuming it's because we get a new banner come out on Monday, which I think is when this is going to go up, right? So the double rates banner is going to come out, presumably with a new set of sales. And then if they came out at the same time on both versions, it would be a new banner and another set of sales, I would assume, going up like 2 days later. And I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't do that, but I guess they just decided they need to give that double rates banner like a week or so where it's the only one, and then maybe more people would summon on it or something. I don't know. But as much as it sucks that it's not coming out at the same time, everybody always says, that don't want the versions to sync up, that they want their foresight. Well, now you have a week to see whether the units are actually worth summoning for before you summon for them on Global. So at least there is a silver lining.
For sure. Yeah, one thing Dokkan always does is very particular about spacing out the banners. If any of y'all haven't played other gachas, they will spam banners at you almost like multiple times a week. It's insane. So the fact that Dokkan is just very much like, nope, just one banner, you got to wait like 2 weeks to 3 weeks and then another one. So that does make sense that you bring that up, Ningen, that, yeah, we do have that double rate. So that's probably why. Minato, what are your thoughts on the Gamma 1 and 2?
I think that it's really good that we're getting more actual summonable superhero stuff. I know Legends had Gamma 1 and 2 for like how long ago did they have them, Goresh? Like I don't remember when.
Believe April, because they definitely got them before the movie released. I think because everything they do is from the trailers, so I think they just took all the trailer animations and just made them based off of those.
Yeah,
They've had them for a long time.
I think wasn't it? It was the fact that they had the Android tag that like confirmed that they were androids because the movie wasn't out yet.
Yeah, and then they weren't on Powerful Opponent either, like those tags. So we were doing all this Legends talk, but you get the point. I think that's good that we're finally getting them at Dokkan. It seems like they might both be Dokkan Fest too, which if that's the case, that's very exciting because that means that they'll likely be good. You know, most Dokkan Fest this year have been really good, so that's a plus. And I would say with them releasing like a week later, I'm assuming seems like it's gonna be a week later on the global version. I think the reason for that is like Ningen said, the double rates banner, because that will likely have carnival coins. So I wonder if they're trying to get people like to bait people with that, right? There's gonna be like carnival coins in the banner, and maybe even Carnival Goku and Metacool are unfeatured or something. Like who knows? We have no idea how it's gonna work.
How much of a global W would that be?
I mean,
me being the only global, me and Negan being the global
to,
players here,
They're not trying to bait people because they put the teaser for Gamma 1 and 2 on Twitter. They're not baiting anybody.
I mean, that's fair, but
I just don't get, because if that's actually the reasoning behind them like delaying the banner for a week on global, how about you just reverse the release dates of the banners? Put the Gamma 1 and 2 banner same time as JP, and then a week later, give us the double rates banner. Like, what? Why?
I know. I don't. I mean, it's like if that is why they're trying to like get people to summon, would that be why they brought Pan forward for that banner? I have no idea, because even that decision is just so weird. Like, why do they bring Pan forward like that, right? Just trying to connect threads there. Maybe just doesn't mean anything, and they're like, yeah, let's just do this for some reason. Who knows, man? But I still think that's very good that Global's getting it very close, and I hope it's the same for all, like everything in superhero related in the future. That it's like a week or two difference, and not like multiple months. You know, like imagine Beast Gohan comes out anniversary or something, and then Global has to wait till July. Like that just feels kind of like weird, right?
Exactly. Well, my hope still is, even though this one is a week later, if we put a little bit of hopium, if we say it's like delayed by a week because of this weird banner conflict, obviously we got the story event after JP. There was a much bigger gap. This is a much smaller gap now, so I'm still kind of hoping that maybe they're going to do something at like Christmas or New Year for Superhero and have it on both versions at the same time. But obviously that remains to be seen.
I mean, that would be sick. Even during the Blue Gogeta year, Global got the New Year's Dokkan Fest early in like what, February, right? So that was a pretty big win.
Yeah, I think it's very cool that Gamma 1 and 2 are coming. I'm actually like very surprised. I figured they were going to be free to play units whenever they drop. So the fact that they're Dokkan Fest, and the way I read that producer's letter is they are both Dokkan Fest, and I think they're actually going to be on the same banner, which I think this is the first time we've had it since like a Trunks Zamasu banner way back like early on in the game's history, right? So that could be very cool and tempting for people to want to summon on. And the thing is like one of the comments I heard people say, well, Gamma 1 and 2 might have weird links. Well, they're going to link together. They're probably going to be 6 or 7 linking partners, and they're going to probably be ridiculous. So I think they're going to be fun. And we've got enough Android support with that Cell Leader, Jiroa 19. Like there's some very good Android stuff to pair them with. So I think they could make a really fun team. So I'm excited for it.
Imagine physical 17 EZA, and then they just make the Android team insane, right?
For sure. With that defense support, heck yeah.
I think for the Gamma 1 and 2 link situation, the only problem is if you pull one and not the other, right? It's like okay, now I have this character with like Hero of Justice and Signature Pose and like all these other links that don't work with any of it.
Well, then Goresh, you just throw them on Vidal's team and you're good to go. Just run the special know, it's Defenders of Justice. And then Negan, when Heroes comes, those are all Defenders of Justice, right? Dragon Ball Heroes? Another place to run them.
Just use the, what's it called? Just use the new Baba Shop Great Saiyan Man. Right?
Yep, exactly.
Amazing.
Well, L on global for that one. Ours is not as good as yours. We'll put it that way. But
I forgot about that. Right, but
yeah.
global moment, I guess. What can I say?
They need sufficient time to beta test them in your version first. Then they'll bring them to global, the full version of the game. Exactly.
Okay.
That's best. All right. Well, let's talk about some other new JP news here. We've got the physical Kid Goku, who to me looks like an absolute beast, and this Android 8, also a beast. So Minato, we'll start with you this time. Are they the best? Is physical Kid Goku the best TUR? What do you think of these new units that just came out?
The more I use this Goku and Android 8, the more I'm just like flabbergasted with how good they made them. It makes sense because it's not only just right after Worldwide, but while Kid Goku's like popular, like I would assume on the JP side, right? Global really not as much, I feel. So it makes sense that they make him busted, especially with the terrible banner they gave him. Like, oh my goodness. And the whole sales situation was just awful, man. It's like his banner was just like the worst treated ever. It's terrible. But them themselves, people, I don't know how people will feel about this. I think Kid Goku's by far, like, if we're gonna rank these units, like, best, like, Dokkan Fest TUR by far, in my opinion. And I think he's on par or even above the Year 7 LRs in terms of how he feels like in-game. He's just that good. Supporting, orb changing, the damage reduction support is just something we've never seen.
That's insane, yeah.
It's like 8% reduction makes a pretty big difference. You may not think it is, but especially with units that have pre-existing damage reduction built in, it's disgusting. Like Hachan, he has like his 80% reduction. He goes from like taking 200k from cell max to double digits with just that extra 8%, right? That's how that big of a difference that can actually mean to these units. And Kid Goku himself is tanking red zone super attacks, cell max super attacks, and he's doing like triple 9 mil. Like he's doing too much. It's stupid. It's like looking at a fan made card. Even it's absurd how they made him.
Well, we've even seen how some of these units with 5% damage reduction in their links, it really helps. So to get 8, and then you combo that with the linking damage reduction, I mean, you're getting even more there.
And the thing is, I don't know, I'm sure most of you guys didn't see this. I did an auto run and sell max with this team.
Oh my gosh. Oh, nice.
So that means no items, no support memory, just full auto. I sat back and it destroyed it. It took me like 3 tries. Like,
nice.
I can't even speak. I have no words besides that, right? I love this unit.
Busted.
He's like he's my favorite release by far this year, I think.
All right, so now we'll have to call you a physical Kid Goku fan, Ultimate fan here, instead of Ultimate Gohan's biggest fan, right?
He's the GOAT.
He is the GOAT. All right, well, Goresh, do you agree with this assessment? What are your thoughts on this Kid Goku?
Yeah, I think he is just crazily built. And I think they were kind of forced to make him that way too, because just the way his teams are, right? I mean, there's the proof is in his leader skill, right? They would not give him a leader skill like that unless those specific categories were, not as good as some other categories, right? Yeah. So I think they sort of compensated for his teams not being that good in his passive as well. The entire unit is compensated for his teams, right? Because you're putting him on a team with like physical Bulma, like the free to play Yamcha. He's actually a pretty good free to play character, but you're not going to tell me that Yamcha is as good as like, I don't know, the banner unit STR Piccolo just came out, or a lot of these other recent characters. Like you're not telling me that Yamcha is as good as pretty much every other filler character you see on like any of the other better teams in the game. So the point is, the reason they made him as good as they did is because the teams that he wants to be on, the rest of the characters around him just don't hold up. And that was why they were forced to make him that way. But I do really like that they did that. And all we can do from this point is hope that they continue, helping those teams out. Dragon Ball Saga, Youth, Dragon Ball Seekers, all those different teams that really need help. Of course, he also was on Movie Heroes, which obviously doesn't need help anymore. But it probably will still get help because of superhero stuff coming out soon. Gammas could be on there too. So that will probably be a place where he can continue to be used, even without getting specifically help for those other categories. Because you also could use Android 8 alongside him as a rotation on Movie Heroes, right? You could just slap those two together on there and you're good to go.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, but I don't really I don't have anything negative to say about the character. He's really well built, and just we need more Dragon Ball help. We need more youth help. We need more Dragon Ball Seeker help. Those categories that they made, they came out with like 5 zillion categories for whatever reason, like that one, they're like 2 year span where they're like every new character introduces a category.
Yeah.
And this is the result of that they did this. So you fix it.
I think that's the only disappointment I do have from the celebration. They didn't like give that many buffs to Kid Goku, right? It's like his team definitely feel like could use, like you said, a little more options. And it also hurts that in a sense it's cool. Again, we're getting the Gammas and I'd rather prefer that. But in a sense for Kid Goku's team specifically, he's not getting like the potential part 2 LR that we would have usually gotten in this time frame, because we're getting the Gammas instead. So that can be an issue in terms of his team, because we know they don't usually go back to Dragon Ball Saga like ever. And the other 2 categories, Youth and Exploding Rage, aren't really that common in terms of the characters that are there because they're just small categories. So we'll have to wait and see how they really handle it. I hope that they do come back at least one more time during the year to that team, just so that we can make sure we really get a more well-rounded like situation there. I think like maybe even just Kid Goku is a really strong floater like support unit himself if you have to. So I'm not sure what they would need to add. Like imagine adding like a scouter unit to the team or something. Just like some special extra ability would be really, really cool. Like a Boma with the scouter or something, right?
The one issue I have with how they handled him and plus the EZA and Kid Goku was they're both named Kid Goku, right? And when you're specifically talking about how to buff the Dragon Ball Saga team, when you look at Dragon Ball Saga and all the characters that exist in that team, like Kid Goku is like the essence of what Dragon Ball Saga is. There's different versions of him. Like there's Great Ape Kid Goku. There's, I assume at some point, we have Kid Goku and Arale. They're probably going to come out with Kid Goku and Krillin later. Kid Goku, Kid Krillin, and Master Roshi. Like there's different variants of Kid Goku we could get. But there's so many iconic moments of Kid Goku in Dragon Ball that we're probably eventually going to be getting like multiple versions of Kid Goku that we're all going to want to use on the same Dragon Ball Saga team together. So this could have been a good opportunity for them not to name this guy Kid Goku. Maybe it could have been like Kid Goku parentheses like, I don't know, like Adventure
Enraged.
Squad or whatever. I think it's like Z Fight. Like no, it's not Z Fighters. What do they call it? It's like the Z something in the unit super attack or something, like the Z whatever it is.
I have no idea.
But they could have called him that, and that would at least have given another slot to be able to use the EZA Int Kid Goku more effectively on this team. Because for me, I mean, he's the, well, I guess if you don't, not counting like Android 8, he's like the second best character on the Dragon Ball Saga team, like not even close, right? So him, and then this Kid Goku could have made a really nice core for the Dragon Ball Saga team, but it's like, you can still use them together, but he's going to have no links active when he's floating around on the team, because Kid Goku obviously wants to be slot 2 on the rotation. So you're floating around this Kid Goku who has no links active, and it's like, is he really even worth running at that point? Probably still is, because the Dragon Ball Saga team's terrible, but he could have just been so much better.
Yeah, I think eventually they just got to make all units link together, even if they share the same name. That's something I'm really hoping for down the road, because I saw it with Carnival Goku and like Int Namek Goku. Like I really want to link them together, and there's just so many Super Saiyan Gokus. I'm hoping eventually they just give us that and let them link up. But Ningen, what are your thoughts on physical Kid Goku? I know as a global player, maybe you've watched some video on them.
Yeah, I haven't really. There's nothing really else that anyone else hasn't covered. The thing about the leader skill, I think, is exactly right. I remember saying that when like his details came out, the fact that those smaller categories that needed a lot of help, like I know a lot of people had been speculating about his leader skill, like Minato and myself did as well. But like the hardest thing is when you were looking at the categories that he was going to be on, to be like parts of his potential leader skill, people were trying to come up with those combinations of like 2 categories that would get 170 and then 1 extra one to get the 30% on top. But like almost any combination of those that people could come up with, realistically using the categories that he would be on, they were all like terrible. So they just decided to give him 3 categories with 2 potential boosts, and then obviously that helps build those teams much easier. So hopefully, obviously we're not going to see that with like every Dokkan Fest, but when they start throwing in some of these smaller categories, I think that's a really good idea, what they did with his leader skill. But yeah, other than that, same kind of thing everybody else has said. The unit is super impressive. I'd be excited to summon for him on global. The thing is, we know that Kid Goku probably is more popular in the West in general, but you got to remember that a lot of people use the talking point of like Goku being not popular on global when the only time we got the Kid Goku was the Int Dokkan Fest one. But remember that for the global schedule, they put that as the banner right before the anniversary that year. So it's not necessarily surprising that that banner didn't do as well as it could have done if it was potentially in a different time slot. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to summon for him when he does come to global.
That's pretty fair.
Too. Yeah.
I will say one thing that I think they also should have done is Goresh brought up the unit, but LR Goku and I can't speak. That unit should have easy aid. I don't know why they didn't.
Yeah.
It was really weird. The Yamcha maybe should have easy aid. I don't know. They should have given it a little more love, but it is what it is at this point. I think the celebration's almost over for Kid Goku, so.
Yeah, one of the big issues with the Dragon Ball team, Dragon Ball Saga team, in general, is just that a lot of the characters are tied to the World Tournament, and we have no idea how they're going to handle the easy A's for them.
Yeah,
like is Tien and Chiaotzu Dragon Ball Saga? I don't actually remember, but like Yamcha, Demon King Piccolo, all the banner, like Jackie Chun, we have that STR Anine, literally all those. Actually, Anine might not be on there, but all those banner units that you can pull the SSRs from the Dragon Ball Saga banner. We have like old Demon King Piccolo, the Int one.
Yep.
Like there's so many worthless trash units on that banner, and it's like, when are we going to get these guys easy aid, or even some of them don't even have their Dokkan Awakenings yet? So that's another way they can flesh out this team, but we just you don't know what they're going to do yet.
If you think about the very early ones from like the first couple of World Tournaments, some of those cards must be older than like the oldest cards that have easy A's at this point. So they really need to start doing them sometime soon.
How old is that Int Demon King Piccolo? I'm actually going to look this up.
He is old.
He's a bit more recent. Wasn't he like the third? Was he? No, he was like the fourth reward LR, wasn't he? So he's not. Do you mean
the in ones, right?
The ancient
one.
Yeah,
the old one.
Yeah.
This guy came out September 3rd, 2015.
Yeah, that's like on launch pretty much. Like, jeez.
Oh wow, he is. Yeah.
He is old, man.
Damn, he's over 7 years old. That's insane.
Yeah.
Funny thing about the LR Demon King Piccolo is Kid Goku gave him that damage reduction. He actually tanks some Axis super attacks.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've seen a bunch of screenshots of people using him on Goku's team. It's
just like, who else do you use, right? The team just needs more help. And another thing, one last thing, I guess. We know during Worldwide we got Thouser. Remember Goresh the God Thouser with STR Cooler?
Oh yeah, he's the secret bus unit from the Worldwide celebration.
Yes, for sure. But then we got him, and then we basically got the sub easy ace for the Meta Cooler as well, the Piccolo and Vegeta. And for some reason they didn't do the same. So the Roshi, the Mofuba Roshi, and then the Demon King Piccolo STR one didn't easy A them, and they would have been pretty huge additions. I feel like if they were given a good easy A.
Yeah, I don't know. They're waiting for something, and as Goresh said, that I think what hurts Dragon Ball Saga so much, the reason it's so shafted, is it is tied to World Tournament. The units, not only are they bad because they have free to play stats, they're less accessible than summonable units because you have limited tickets on those banners. So they're double shafted because they're harder to get than a summonable unit, but they treat them like free to plays and they don't easy A them. And so my thought is I'm waiting for this big time World Tournament revamp. And I think whenever they revamp this thing, because they have to know that we hate it. Like we constantly are complaining about World Tournament. The only thing we complain about more is the friend system. But once they revamp this thing, I think they're going to start loading in some easy A's, hopefully. But they need to do more actual Dragon Ball celebrations. We need more Dokkan Fest. We need more actual legit banner units for this team to operate. And I agree. That's why Kid Goku's so busted. It's kind of like a Ginyu situation. Like the team's going to be limited, so you got to make them really busted so people want to summon for him, right?
I mean, there technically should have been a World Tournament this month, I believe, but they didn't announce it, so maybe it comes with the Gamas. I don't know.
What's interesting about that situation? I believe Global and JP are caught up with the world tournaments. I think they're on the same page at this point. Is that true?
I feel like we're at least one
most
behind.
is like one behind, right? But
what was the most recent world tournament reward on JP?
Because the newest one we got was that Team
check.
Goten, I think. Team Goten, I think, is our newest one we just got.
Let me see.
Global. He's I think the latest one.
Yeah.
I know JP got the Goku Black Awakening. That was the last time.
And we do not have that. We do not have Goku Black's Awakening.
So I'm pretty sure you guys are like one behind, but let me check. Does this show the rewards on the wiki?
Should do.
Maybe so. Okay, so JP had that Trunks, right? You guys got the Goten. JP has the Trunks. Like that's supposed to, I guess, be used with them.
Like slightly grown up Trunks, isn't it? That
goes, from the end of Z2.
End of Z, yeah.
Okay, so we're one behind.
Yep. All right. So let's go ahead and we talked a little bit. We brought up worldwide. I know because we've been off the podcast for a while here. We haven't talked a lot about it, so we're gonna kind of do just like a quick summary version of it. So I'm gonna break this down, but the first thing I just want to ask everyone is just your overall thoughts of the celebration, and do you think it was the best celebration ever? So Goresh, I'll start with you. What are just your overall thoughts of the worldwide celebration this year?
I thought they did a really good job with it. Obviously, everyone's going to have their complaints with it. There's going to be some points that people don't like about it, and that's fine. And I think when it comes down to like actually ranking celebrations, like this is the best celebration ever, like it's going to be subjective, right? If a character releases in the celebration that you love, you're probably going to like the celebration more than if the celebration released a character that you don't care for. So I think there's a lot of subjectivity that goes into, quote unquote, ranking how good these celebrations are. But when it comes to me, just trying to look at this from an objective standpoint, it's probably between this and the 7th year anniversary. I'd probably give the slight advantage to the 7th year anniversary just because I think it gave more to players in the form of EZAs. I think because what did we get? We got Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Omega, the 3-year LRs, the 4-year LRs, God Goku, STR Vegeta. Yeah, there's way more.
There's some pretty big time hitters there. Some big hitters, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so there's that. But then, obviously in the celebration, we got introduced to the new banner structure. And there's pros and cons with that. So I won't go into every single detail with that, but
I'm sure that's going to come off at some point.
For sure.
I was a fan of the celebration, but it wasn't perfect. It had its little spots where I think they could have done a better job. Not really a huge fan of like the boost characters versus the new event. Like that was kind of dumb. But I think obviously them introducing a new red zone was really nice. And I think all the units were pretty fun to use. I don't really have I never really had a bad time using any of these units, except for a few times where I just couldn't get the transformation with the Goku and Vegeta, the Super Saiyan one from the Metal Cooler movie.
Yeah.
Had a few bad experiences using them, but other than that, I think I don't really have any complaints for it. We got the full Metal Cooler team, Easy Aid, a bunch of cool stuff that happened, and that's not a pun. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Ningen, how cool was this celebration for you? What do you think?
Oh yeah, it was cooler than many other celebrations.
Okay,
I definitely am one of those people. You could convince me to say that it was the best celebration. It definitely is, like, I would say second if you don't think it was the best. But yeah, we got lots of content, lots of interesting stuff, interesting things for the future as well, because obviously it's little details that I'm trying to pick out for things that like Goresh hasn't said already, but things that I noticed, like after we got the anniversary and we got introduced to the red zone, people have obviously speculated about certain themes that future red zones would bring. And I think something interesting to note is when people were trying to come up with like, oh, if this is the theme for a future red zone, who would the bosses be for the certain stages? And obviously by getting the Wicked Bloodline one, which is only 5 stages, it means we know that they don't rigidly stick to every single red zone is going to be 7 stages. So obviously that opens the door for a lot more themes where you just wouldn't be able to have like 7 bosses that fit that theme. So I think that's quite interesting. I'm hoping they do that more in the future, especially because the reward for the Wicked Bloodline one was obviously the support memory, the permanent buff, which is what they did for the previous 2 as well. So obviously that's something that could be very interesting going forward for celebrations. I think I'm doing a video about it today, but it's my biggest hope for like the Heroes celebration for this year is imagine if we got like a Heroes red zone and then the reward for completing it is the permanent buff, like support memory stuff.
Mhm.
So something like that for major celebrations to really buff these categories, I think would be really awesome. But yeah, loved all the units. I think all the EZAs were good. Well, I say all actually. Let's not forget about Thouser, of course. But
Oh, Thouser, yes.
the rest of them were good. And the thing is, there might have been less EZAs overall, but we got units like STR Cooler, who is, as in the EZA TUR, who's like the best EZA TUR in the game now, like a must run on the team.
Mhm.
Insanely good. And of course, I partially a little bit biased. I did get very lucky on the banners because part 1, I did Rainbow Cooler in under 2,000 stones, which is possibly the luckiest I think I've ever been when it comes to a new LR. So I definitely had a lot of luck. And yeah, Wicked Bloodline has just gotten so many buffs. Like, the Wicked Bloodline team is probably by far my favorite team in the game now at the moment. So overall, I was very happy with the celebration. The new coin thing is obviously going to come up as the one thing that most people don't like, but most of the complaints I see people making about it is kind of similar to just when coins came out in the first place. It's like people aren't going to like it when it first comes out because people who don't summon a lot are obviously not going to get many of them straight away. But once the system has been in place for longer, and the fact that we know now that every future double rates banner, including like, you know, the LR ones we get at Christmas and stuff like that, they're all going to give those coins. So it won't be like blue coins where there'll actually be banners that are worth summoning on that you can get these new coins from, and then they'll actually be able to get good units with them. So I still think they could have done it in a potentially better way, but overall I'm pretty happy with the Worldwide and everything they did. So definitely good.
Yeah. Minato, what are your thoughts on Worldwide?
I would say, you know, most everyone's points I basically do agree with. Why my personal reason why I think this might be my actual just favorite celebration, funny enough, is because I feel like they really spaced the content well. I never felt like there's nothing I had to do. I feel like, you know, every like 2 days, every 3 days, they release something like some new event or something to actually like participate in somehow, like, you know, whether it's an EZA that they release, whether it's, you know, like the medical link level stage or something small like that. It always felt like there was something for me to go in the game and actually complete, you know, like those red zone missions. They just what, 3 for each of the red zones that came out.
Yep.
And giving those like guaranteed SSR tickets and everything like that. It was pretty fun. And I feel like there was a lot of stuff, you know, in order to complete basically. So I was pretty happy with that. I love the units and just overall very enjoyable celebration.
Yeah. For me, my two big takeaways and what makes this probably my favorite celebration is one is when a celebration represents units or categories that need help. And Wicked Bloodline really needed help here. I said the same thing last year because Planet Namek Saga was so underrepresented. It was like my favorite celebration of the year because we got so many new units for like teams that needed it, and that was a lot of fun. My second big takeaway is the free-to-play Metal Cooler team is just a godsend for new or returning players. I have so many people on my Discord that's like, show me their box, what's my best team? I'm like, your best team's the Metal Cooler team. Just slap a leader on there. Even if it's the free-to-play lead, they can still bring like a Carnival Metal Cooler lead, and that team can get you through like 90% of the game. Like, it's insane. I even took the Int Metal Cooler into Red Zone and got through when I had to do my quest for using all extreme types because we don't have the Int EZA for the Metal Cooler Squad or whatever that the LR. So we don't on global we don't have the EZA. So I actually took the free to play Int Metal Cooler and I got through Red Zone with him. So they're good. And actually, when I was in situations where you need to heal a lot, that physical one heals so much. It's absolutely insane how much he heals because he's one of these heal percentage on attack, but he actually does decent damage. He isn't gimped like Tech Boo and like B-Pan. He can actually put out some numbers. So love the Metal Cooler. So those are my two big takeaways from that I really, really liked. And you know, we started talking about the banner format. I actually like the banner format, but I don't like that they did the Carnival coins. I think they should have just kept it blue coins, which I think most people would agree with that they don't like that they added the coin. But kind of in what Minato was saying with the spacing, the pacing of the celebration, the banner format also made the pacing a lot better because now we had a part 2 Dokkan Fest, and the reveal for the part 2 Dokkan Fest and Carnival to me was just as hype for the initial one. Normally it's all about that initial reveal and then you're kind of just slowing down the rest of the way through. It's like, oh, here's a couple new LRs, but they're skippable, whatever. So I think the banner format actually helped with the pacing as well. So I love the celebration, right?
I think my one biggest issue with the coins is the fact that there's now just too many coins. Like there's too many different coins.
Exactly.
And you still can't exchange.
That's, I can't believe they the fact that they released it with you not being able to do that is just, I don't like, if that part wasn't ready, they just shouldn't have released a new coin yet. That's very odd.
That's probably the dumbest thing I've ever seen Dokkan do, like legitimate.
Well, my box is full to bursting.
Update. Like literally like 2 days ago on JP, and they still didn't introduce it. They did that friend system update, right? Which is kind of like, it's fine, right? But what are they like waiting for? Like, shouldn't it just be like a copy paste literally, and then just change
it can't be that
they
different.
They have to add hold on. They have to add a whole new tab. To the
just throw them in the other tab with the blue coins, and then just give you they just throw them in that other tab. My box is full to bursting right now because I can't do anything with these units, and I guarantee people have accidentally bobbed some of these units, and they're gonna miss out on coins. It's like
I sold them. I don't care. I just don't feel like waiting. My box, I don't like my box is not sorted.
There's a part of me that feels like it was probably planned to not release it yet. It was probably on purpose. I would not be surprised.
I mean, the thing is, I guess the best case scenario, what they should have done is obviously just keep it blue coins and then make the blue coins what the teal coins are now, so they're actually worth having. But I'm assuming the only reason they didn't do that is because then obviously there's probably people that have hundreds of them already. And so then they're essentially going to be able to buy obviously they weren't out on the first banner, but be able to buy future Carnival LRs because of this backlog of blue coins that they had. But that definitely would have been better rather than introducing a new one. It's like, let's stop the blue one from being useless because I wonder what they'll do again to bring it up again. I feel like I bring it up all the time, but it's kind of my thing. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with the Heroes thing this year because it's going to be one of the only banners now where you get blue coins instead of any of the others, because all the double rates banners in the future are going to be teal coins.
They need to actually make you able to purchase heroes units with blue coins. Exactly. That's what they need to do.
At the moment, you can literally only buy Kais, and then when those type banners come back, which is never, like once every 2 years or something, you can buy those, and that's all of they're good for. So it'd be interesting to see. They need to do something better with them to justify why they even bothered to keep them in the game in the first place.
Right. At the very least, with the way they're structuring the carnival now, where like all of the units, including the banner units, you could buy 1,000 with your carnival coins if you want to waste them. But maybe what that means for heroes, if they decide to implement the blue coin structure, is be like, all right, here's your new, limit breaker Super Saiyan 4 Goku. You can't buy him with coins, but all these other side units you could buy with coins. I hope they implement that this year with blue coins, but otherwise, they just sit there and basically I rainbowed STR hit, and every time the 50% come back, I'll just rainbow another one of those 50% supports, I guess. That's kind of what they're going to be there for.
Describe Kais.
I've got 350 Kais. They're just eating up box space.
I don't get know. It. Dude, I've got like 20 Kais right now, man. What are you guys doing on Global?
500 plus rainbow units. We get that friend banner, dude. It's that friend banner. I'm telling you.
I was gonna say every single Global player has like 1 billion Kais, and then I'm starving on GP. That friend banner is insane. I have like billions of points.
I'm just looking now. I have 376 of the actual Elder Kais, and then I have at least 50 of all the type specific ones.
Yep.
Must be nice, man.
Thanks to that anniversary banner. That was so good. Just spam away all of your friend points.
Like I said, JP is the beta version. They're testing, okay, what is the limit of how many Kais these players need? And let's feed Global and make sure they got enough, right? So, Monato's only got 20. Let's give Global another 300.
It's hard being a JP player. The shaft is insane.
Monato gives Kais to story units. Confirmed.
I mean,
maybe. Are you just really irresponsible, Minato?
So the Baba Shop units, I didn't have them, and I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna grab like 15. So I just spent Kais on them. I don't care.
No, Minato is like, I need to have every unit rainbowed, so you probably tried to SA10 an actual Elder Kai and tried to rainbow an Elder Kai by feeding Elder Kais into the Elder Kai. That's what you do.
I mean, that would be kind of cool.
That would be cool. Rainbow the Elder Kai. Or if you rainbow him, it does 20 SA instead of 10. That would be kind of cool, actually. We're just thinking of new ideas here. Feed one into
an LR.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? All right, well, let's move along. We're bird walking here a little bit, but back to Worldwide. I want to know your favorite unit that came out in the celebration. This could include the new summonable units or an EZA. So, Ningen, let's start with you this time. What is just your favorite unit out of this celebration?
EZA
I mean, come on. It's
we know
obviously LR Final Form Cooler.
The guy you rainbowed, you lucky dog.
The guy that I rainbowed, yeah. The first unit to earn being changed to my friend leader from God Trunks since last year's Hero Celebration, because he's just that good. Yeah, he's insane. Obviously, I know every time somebody says this, other people are like, oh, that's just a global player opinion. But like, I see the arguments from him being the best unit in the game. Obviously, it's between him and Vegeta and Trunks, but the argument has been had multiple times. I think we've said before on this podcast multiple times. A lot of it's stuff like this when it comes down to which unit is better, A or B. A lot of it just comes down to your playstyle preference because they are very different. Like, obviously, Vegeta and Trunks are much more consistently good defensively. Cooler is much better offensively. So it just kind of depends, right? I can see arguments for either one. But regardless of whether other people think he's great or not, Cooler is insane. The EZA for the STR Cooler absolutely just put him over the top. I did a video literally just called Wicked Bloodline is the best team in the game now. And I had the rotation with LR Cooler, STR EZA Cooler, and Cooliza, who's actually runnable on that team. So with all of that support fully built up, LR Cooler's like first 18 key super of the turn was 19 million. And then he proceeded to do multiple additionals that were all like 12 million. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's just an incredibly fun unit. His active skill looks awesome. Yeah, he's just super, super good. So
Kid Goku's
he's my
better.
favorite unit by far.
All right. So, Minato, what is your favorite unit of the celebration? You can't say Kid Goku because he wasn't a part of this celebration.
I was actually gonna say the STR Piccolo.
Yeah,
I really like the STR Piccolo unit, and I feel like first, Movie Heroes is gonna keep getting buffs for like the rest of like the year like probably even next year a lot. So him providing that support and having his own damage reduction like that with guard, he's gonna age incredibly well, and I feel like they're never gonna stop buffing Movie Heroes just because there's so many options that they can still get from the movies that they haven't done.
Yeah.
So like I know who was it that said this, but they're like, okay, what if next year is the Broly movie, Super Saiyan Goku again, and then Broly, right? Or something like that, right? Yeah. And there's a lot of these movie EZAs coming up, so I just think I like Piccolo having like a support floating tanking role is pretty nice.
He's going to age well. He's going to age very well.
For sure. I mean, if I had to pick the LRs, then I would say Carnival Goku probably. Sure.
Goresh, favorite unit of the celebration?
You know it has to be the metal cooler movie Goku and Vegeta. No, I'm just kidding. That's cooler, obviously.
Yeah. I was going to say, which Wicked Bloodline unit is your favorite, Goresh? Because I know that's your thing. So, yeah, you like the same one as Ningen.
You know what does suck, though? For that team, like, LR Golden Frieza, like, he's not even going to be in the game until, like, what, January or February?
Oh, God.
Like, what are they doing with them? Poor Golden Frieza, man. He's so good, too, for that team. It's absurd.
It's the same thing with LR Janemba last year. It was, like, forever till we got him, right? Yeah. It's just crazy.
Fusion Zamasu,
he was
too.
delayed by a while.
Yeah, Fusion Zamasu as well, yep.
Well, for this year specifically, yeah.
Yeah. So my favorite unit of the celebration is actually, I'm going to say the EZA STR Cooler because he is just such a beast. A video I did was I took him into Broly Red Zone, type disadvantage, and he tanked AGL Broly Super Attack. I had him at 1.2 million defense in Red Zone Broly. Absolute beast, and he just enables all of his teams. He's just a must run on his teams. He's so freaking good. Love him. And then I do want to shout out the free-to-play metal coolers. I think they were great. Awesome units. So,
Goresh, what was your serious answer? Because it wasn't Goku and Vegeta, was it?
No, he said cooler.
He said cooler.
He said Final Form Cooler.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
The morale boost. For some reason, their active skill just hits kind of weak. Is it just me?
Are we all in agreement, right? I'm sure it's not just me, but out of the 4 LRs that came out, Goku and Vegeta are the most underwhelming of the 4, right?
100%.
I would say so, because that morale boost they made it a little too hard to get.
The problem, I know obviously it's difficult to compare when you have pulled dupes and when you haven't, but so it's obviously, some of it's down to RNG as well. But like, I only got 1 copy of Goku and Vegeta, and after trying them out of 55% and trying them in a bunch of events, like I really wasn't that impressed with them at all. And then because I got all of the rest of their banner rainbow, like basically straight away, I just kept summoning on the LR banner instead and getting, like the featured LRs on the Carnival banner. Because I've seen like clips and videos and stuff, obviously, of them at their best, but yeah, they definitely just feel really underwhelming to me compared to the other 3 LRs.
How's that Janemba looking, by the way?
Oh yeah, I did get one, because remember the JP got the we got the random Easy A banner for the GT trio. So yellow coin section came back in the shop. Yeah, so I've finally got my second dupe. But yeah, I rainbowed every single featured LR on the Carnival Coins banner in part 2 without pulling a single dupe for Janemba.
Oh my gosh. Well, Janemba, same with me. I pulled a lot on there. I got Metal Cooler to 90%, did not pull one Janemba. I'm with you on that one. Yeah, that's crazy. All right. Well, to wrap up worldwide, we're just going to do a very quick answer here. I want to know, I know everybody kind of talked about their overall thoughts, but really quick, tell me your favorite thing about the celebration and then your least favorite thing about the celebration. Minato, do you have that ready? What would just two quick answers, favorite and least favorite?
My favorite thing is the Metal Cooler Link level stage. I just awesome seeing my units just go up. I don't know. That's the first thing I think of in that actual celebration is that. My least favorite thing would be the Dokkan Scout. I hate it. It's terrible. I hate it, especially on JP. It's like impossible. Oh my goodness!
Because shout out to Kawhi for all the global boys.
Global. You guys had that that bot you could use. JP, I'm starving, bro. I had to go on these Japanese player sites to post my QR codes.
Craigslist to get coin codes.
Yeah, Craigslist. Meet some dude in an alley. All right, I'll scan your stoner for you.
There's 20
bucks. Drug deal. Yeah, it's so funny. On Global, it's like I just do one Twitter post and then within a day I've got it done. It's so nice.
I literally missed out on at least 40 stones from that.
Ooh. Yeah, that sucks.
Sorry to hear that.
It's such a weird, I think we did talk about it before when it came around the first time, but it's just such a weird design because it's it can only, your code can only be scanned by a new or returning player. So everybody's spamming their QR codes all over Twitter. Every single post any of us make for a week after it first came out, people are just spamming their code in the replies. Huh? Well, yeah, more obviously, but yeah. No, it still happens sometimes. But it's the fact that the pool of everybody wants their code scanned, but the pool of people that can actually scan codes is so incredibly small, and each person can only scan one. So there's I think statistically, I'm sure you could very easily say without even having to work it out. I don't know if there would be even any data that would allow us to work this out, but there literally were not enough people to scan everybody's codes. So definitely a bunch of people would have missed out, and that is unfortunate.
You need 4 people to scan your code too, by the way.
And do all the things as well, yeah.
Exactly. And they have to complete the missions.
Yep.
Right.
Shout out to Kawhi. What a legend.
Yes. All right. Well, so Ningen, while you're kind of while you're kind of going, Ningen, real quick, what is your favorite and least favorite part of the celebration?
Favorite part of the celebration was the Wicked Bloodline buffs. Although I will say the promotion as well. I think the promotion of the campaign.
The coup rap.
Because even if you don't like, the cool rap, it's just the fact that they did that stuff is just cool, right? They should do that more for future things. I thought that was cool. And then least favorite, other than I guess probably just Goku and Vegeta. Just I know a lot of people aren't hype about some of those specific moments, but the animations or everything are cool. I would have been really happy if that unit was much better than they are. But so I guess that's probably the thing I'm most disappointed about.
Okay, for sure. Goresh, favorite and least favorite of the celebration?
So my favorite thing actually was the fact that we finally got representation for Super Saiyan Goku from the Cooler movie, the first one, because he's one of my favorite versions of Goku, and we just never got any version of him in the game ever until now. And then I think my least favorite thing was probably the boost characters for the new event, just because that's a super slippery slope, and I really don't want to see that again.
Right. Yeah, and then really quick, my favorite thing is just in general the EZAs. The EZAs were awesome. With Thouser kind of sitting on the side, kind of crying, but like, yeah, the EZAs. Least favorite is probably the implementation of the new coin. I like the banner format, but we didn't need the new coin, so that would be my quick answer. So next up, we're going to do a different little segment here for our 100th episode. We're going to take a trip down memory lane, and we're going to ask everybody just about things about the game's history or just in their life of playing the game. So the first thing we're going to ask is, what is your favorite celebration that you were around for? Now, once again, we're not saying best celebration, but we're just saying, like, for the time period, what was your favorite celebration? So Goresh, I'm going to start with you. What's your favorite celebration that you participated in Dokkan's history?
So I've been around since the first anniversary, and I think my favorite celebration has been the 350 million download last year with Frieza and Goku, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
It's my favorite fight ever in Dragon Ball. And finally getting like a entire celebration based around Namek, which is my favorite saga. Like it honestly, like that was pretty much my dream celebration. So that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. Minato, how about you? Favorite celebration in the game's history for you?
It's tough. Like Goresh, I wasn't around like around the first anniversary, but I was around a few months before the second anniversary in JP. I would say, like, it's hard. Dang it, there's so many. Like the first thing that comes to mind for me is Vegito Blue and Rose. I guess it's the shock factor of like him being out so quick, and then this mega dual Dokkan Fest. I got really lucky on those banners. I was a free to play player, so I got both Vegitos off singles, and I was like, okay, I'm set forever, right? So that was pretty fun. And yeah, I mean, probably the 7th anniversary too is up there. It's so hard because a lot of these celebrations have like either nostalgic factors or just we're playing good, right?
Right. Ningen, how about you?
I think I can pick a different one as well, but I think the Rose and Vegito Blue one is a pretty great one, because you got to remember at that point, like the meta was the 70% leads. It was like all mono teams, and then those units came out, and it was like, oh, now you can run a team with units of all different types. Just run all the villains and all the heroes together, and it was super good. But I think for me, if I had to pick a different one, the 3rd anniversary I thought was really, really great, because for me, that was the first anniversary that I was making content, because I'd started a while before the second one. I was around, I think one of the first major banners I remember summoning on was when AGL, Super Vegito, and Physical Broly came out. So it was a bit before the 2nd anniversary. But the 3rd anniversary, it was the first anniversary where I was making content. I remember I got really lucky on the banners for the LR, Gogeta, and Vegito. And obviously back then, it's funny to say now when you consider the quality that we have in-game now, but like back then when we saw like them, the fact that they fuse on turn 6 and like the animation that they had at the time was so good. Like, yeah, that was a great time. So
remember the close-up shots they had in their super attacks, and we were going crazy for it.
Yep.
You're like, yo, look at that.
His hair was animated. It was sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hair
awesome.
moved.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't just a close-up. It actually moved slightly. It was crazy.
It wasn't Int Gohan on a pogo stick. It was so good.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
But like, yeah, you think about that now, like the physical Gogeta fusing on turn 6 little animation, and then compare that to like Tech LR Gogeta and stuff. But back then, you know, that was sick. So
Yep, for sure. My favorite celebration is probably year 2. And that's probably one for me, just the power creep of going up from a 70% lead to 120, the Super Saiyan 4s introduced into the game. But it was the celebration that kind of, I made my transformation from casual player to like very hardcore player. Basically starting with that anniversary is when I became an everyday login player and just have absolutely loved the game ever since. So I have a lot of memories. I actually specifically remember summoning for the units with my brother sitting together at an anime convention. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Enjoyed that one. A lot of good memories there. Next question is specifically, is there a past banner that was your favorite? And it could be because you just really like the banner, or for a lot of us, it's probably gonna be one where you had really insane luck. And I'll start with mine. Mine was year 5. I actually rainbowed both of the Year 5 LRs with only 1,000 stones, which was absolutely insane. And it was before I did YouTube, so I can't prove it. So if you don't have to believe me if you don't want to, but yeah, that was my most memorable banner. Goresh, I'm going to go to you next, and I don't know, does yours involve a certain physical LR android, or is it a different
I was going to say.
I mean, that stands out to me like a sore thumb. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so in terms of obviously luckiest banners, it's that one. But I think, like, obviously I wouldn't really call 17, 18, and 16 like my favorite characters of all time. So I don't know if I'd call that banner my favorite banner ever. Of course.
But it was literally 350 stones, right, though, for a yellow coin LR? Like, absolutely insane luck.
And, bro, of course it was that banner where I get that luck. Like, come on.
Could have been a different yellow coin, right?
Yeah. So, okay, that's fine. But I think, like, looking back, because I actually was, like, super hyped for the transforming Goku and Frieza. Because that was a really cool I like that like a Frieza that transforms through all of his forms is like pretty much like my most wanted character. Imagine they do that today, like what the animations would look like a Frieza that transforms to second form, then third form, like all those different animations would look so good. But I remember back on that transforming Frieza banner, I pulled 2 copies of him on the first multi.
Wow. Nice. Minato, what about you? Favorite banner?
I mean, in terms of how I was treated, this year, the LR Gods banner, I was able to rainbow them in 600 stones, and
that's crazy.
I was able to use a lot of the units on the banner, right? I didn't even get just them, so it was pretty crazy, right? And I actually really, really love using that unit, so I probably have to say that one, just because of how easy it was to rainbow that unit, and it was by far, like, probably still like a top 3 favorite unit for me personally. Just, they're good, so I enjoy using them.
Yeah. Ningen, is yours going to be this new cooler, or is there something else you got in the well?
I think the new cooler is probably one of the ones that I have done the best on, and obviously the banner was very good.
Not the Year 6 Vegeta? That's not your favorite banner?
No, the banner where I went 4,000 stones without pulling the unit is probably not my favorite.
Okay, all right.
Tickets.
Or, or Margin Vegeta from this year, which was 2,000 to get one copy. So,
Goodness, man.
Vegeta units just do not like me, apparently.
Good for you, though. He's going to return probably with the Gammas.
Yeah, we'll see.
That might be why they saved him.
Maybe.
So Negan's not getting the Gammas, is what you're saying?
Oh no! Yeah, if he's featured. No, I'll just get them, but no copies of him. But
Vegeta and Trunks, another in one.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I would say probably the cooler one, just in terms of how good it was as a banner, as well as how good like I did on it. So
sure. All right. Well, next question is: which unit were you the most hyped for when it was announced? Minato, do you have something in mind?
UI Goku.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was absolutely insane, and he was literally available that same day. I can't even like tell you how exciting that was, because no one expected it, and seeing that teaser in game was just incredible. And obviously, like he came out and he didn't have his awakening, I believe, right? But still, it was just pretty sick.
Yeah. Ningen, what about you? Favorite unit on announce? When announced?
Tough. There's been quite a few throughout the years that have been like particular standout ones. Because the thing is, I've always been a huge fan of Final Form Cooler. So when the physical one was announced and came out on JP, that I was more hyped for him to come to Global than like the 2nd anniversary, because he came out right afterwards for Global. So that's a big one. Mars Saiyan actually getting a card. That was awesome, because obviously big Bardock fan. So things like him, Super Saiyan 3 Bardock, because back then they didn't do Heroes units. They didn't really do a lot of crossover units. So the fact that they actually brought out like a Super Saiyan 3 Bardock was pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. Goresh, what about you? Is it going to be a Wicked Bloodline unit?
So for me, you would think it would be Final Form Frieza, Transforming Frieza, but as a global, because the question is, when they were announced.
Right, when they were announced.
Yeah, my answer is going to be LR Broly, STR Broly. I remember waking up, because there was maintenance. I think it was right before World Tournament. There was maintenance.
Yep.
and then his banner was just live. Like,
Yeah.
well, like, see, what the hell is this? Because back then, Global didn't just get new units.
Nope.
And it was like, what the, like, people were actually concerned that it was like a bug or something, like somebody accidentally released them on Global.
Well, that's the thing. I immediately thought, because I did think of that, of Broly, but it's the fact that, like you said, it wasn't. I don't even remember it being announced.
It wasn't.
At
It was
all
announced
in any
by him
way. Yeah,
releasing.
it was just there. It was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, because I remember that. Because back
you-
then there was no deviation from the schedule really at all back then, and it's like obviously I got most of my information because I didn't make content when he came out, but was already sort of playing it daily. Didn't really spend a huge amount, bought some of the cheap sale packs every now and then. So seeing a banner that you just had never heard of, it was like, what is this STR Broly? And I did get lucky and actually managed to get him as well. So considering I wasn't a whale back then, that was a very exciting time. That was a fun world tournament, if there could be such a thing.
Did you just use fun and world tournament in the same sentence, Ningen? I mean, I don't know if I'm hearing this right.
Well, the thing is, I wanted to get him properly trained up and everything, but he came out right as a world tournament was going to start. And obviously everybody knows him throughout his life, even before he got his EZA, like he was the world tournament killer. I hadn't had time to fully, because you can farm his super attack at least up to 10. And so because I wanted to do all of that, because back then, again, wasn't a whale, so I Dokkan responsibly. So I just used him for the world tournament. I awakened him to LR and just used him at SA1. And he still just absolutely destroyed everything. Like, it was crazy.
One thing I want to know, I remember Goresh, you said that the JP player base got mad with Tech Broly. How did they feel about STR Broly?
I don't remember. I wasn't really that like entrenched in the community back then. I just remember waking up, seeing that banner was live, and I was like, all right, let's summon.
What is this?
Okay. Broly, okay. That's funny.
Right. Yeah. For me, mine's gonna be a pretty unpopular one, but a unit I was really hyped for when they were announced was actually STR Videl. And for a couple of reasons. One, because I'm actually a Videl fan. Like, she's one of like a character I've liked in the series, even though she doesn't get a lot of screen time. I just thought it was really cool, you know, because Dragon Ball's always like male characters, and to have like a somewhat powerful female character was kind of cool, kind of like that. But the other reason I thought it was so interesting, that the fact that they would actually take a character of that level and make them a Dokkan Fest, I think, and she was released like on April Fool's, so everyone thought it was a joke, I'm pretty sure. So the fact that she was real, she was a Dokkan Fest, and at the time was actually really busted, I thought that was very, very hype for me. So that's one that I in particular remember, right?
It's funny because they did the same thing for Raditz.
Except he is terrible.
It's like, he's a joke. But the problem is he actually was a joke. They just didn't admit that he's a joke. But he actually was a joke. Unfortunate. Next are just in Dokkan's history, what has been your favorite event or events that you have enjoyed playing? So, Goresh, I'll start with you. What are your favorite events in Dokkan history?
There's so many. I think one of them is probably going to be the OG boss rush, where there was like 50 billion bosses, and it took me like 2 hours to clear. I remember my first run going through that. I think I almost lost to like Buhan or something that was like almost at the end. And I was like, God, don't you let me lose. And I was like actually like so mad that I was about to lose. So that was fun. And then the OG Super Battle Road stages, the original
those
the original
were tough.
type ones. I remember trying Extreme Tech and like just barely winning because of LR, Goku Black, and Zamasu. Like, they carried me. Because you couldn't use 2 Super Saiyan 3 Broly's. Like, you're asking to lose. So.
Yeah, for sure. Ningen, how about you? Favorite events in Dokkan history?
I mean, obviously to stay on brand a little bit, I have to say Super Battle Road. But yeah, I've always thought that was fun. And yeah, I think some of when they first started introducing the long form events, like, those are fun. Like, even though obviously now even the new ones are not particularly difficult, but like things like Infinite Dragon Ball History and stuff like that. Because obviously I'm one of these people, I would still like it if we got some sort of, not necessarily just a sandbox, but like almost like an Infinite Waves event that just gets harder and harder and harder. So I actually did like, apart from the fact that it was restricted, and, you know, we've already talked about the boosted units and stuff, but that event where you had to fight like just wave after wave of metal coolers, I would love to be able to do that event again, but with like any team I want, not just the limited units that you were allowed to use from the metal cooler movie. So something like that again in the future. Like, I actually did enjoy playing that for what it's worth, because, you know, something a little bit different, fight waves of enemies. I thought that was cool. So I would like to see some more stuff like that, definitely.
Yeah, I remember playing that the first time, being like, "How many waves are there? This is
Yeah, it's like
kinda
every
crazy."
turn you're just like,
Yeah, it's
that's
like,
the
what?
last
There's
one,
more?
right?
Yeah, they just keep coming. Minato, how about you? What are your favorite events in Dokkan history?
I would say actually one of them I agree with Gresh, the boss rush. I remember when it came out, it was like, how are we supposed to beat this? And then what was like 2 weeks later, the Super Saiyan 4s came out, and then it was like, oh okay, that's
Yeah, it's just annihilated.
that makes sense. They just
It's so
destroyed it.
crazy it's so crazy how the switch was just flipped between
Yeah.
boss rush actually being difficult, because Dokkan Fest events in general, even now, have not really progressed in difficulty from a couple of years ago. So boss rush, the whole reason why it used to be hard in the first place is because it's like, wow, I have to do multiple Dokkan events in a row with only one set of items. And obviously now, as soon as Dokkan events got to the point where you could beat them without using an item anyway, then it doesn't matter. They could put like 20 in a row and you're still just going to be able to do it. So
I remember when people
Exactly.
used to put in their YouTube titles like Broly
Yes.
Dokkan event, no
Yeah.
stones used.
it'd be like AGL Super Vegito,
Remember?
50 stamina stage, no
Yeah.
stones used or something. Yeah.
I was gonna say 50 stamina back in the day was a killer. Oh my goodness.
That Broly event was where lowering defense actually did something, because you could actually lower his defense out and damage him without that rampage link or whatever they wanted, or blazing battle, whatever that link was they wanted you to have.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cheat though, and I'm gonna say a second one too.
Oh.
People are gonna call me crazy for this, maybe. I actually really,
Max.
really like the Cell Max event.
yeah, I
Yeah,
knew it.
Yeah,
You're crazy.
the Cell Max
yeah,
event
man.
is. I just have a lot of fun doing it. I feel like there's a different type of strategy that you would take there compared to like what we've been
Yes.
getting with Red Zone. It's been really fun for me trying out all these units, so I enjoy it a lot.
Obviously, the major difference is that there's no attempt restriction for the event.
Yes.
so.
Exactly right. I hate event restrictions like that.
Yep.
So
I
the
think
fact that you could bring,
Red Zone. No, go on. Sorry.
oh, sorry, I was gonna say the fact that you can bring any unit and you
Yep.
could just attempt as many times as you want. It just leads to a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say Red Zone would be my favorite event if it didn't have the restriction.
The limits,
It's
yeah.
the worst choice. I don't know why, but
Yeah, maybe in the future they'll change it. My favorite event is one that they've only done during one celebration. I wish they'd bring back, but I love Collection of Epic Battles. And what I love it. And what I love about it is it's kind of like a combination of Super Battle Road and a legendary event, because
Yeah.
you kind of have those little stages moving up, and they can hit you hard. And then you get to like a legendary event at the end that's a little bit longer. I thought that was a lot of fun. So I wish they would bring
Yeah.
that back.
I didn't laugh at the decision, but the reason
Okay.
why I laughed is because do
Hasn't
you
been
remember
done.
how for like we had the worldwide celebration last year, and
Yeah.
then regularly for the next 12 months, people would say, are they ever going to update this? And it got to the
Right.
point where it was like, well, I guess it's just going to be an event that gets updated during the worldwide celebration.
And
And then
they
we got
do
another
something new this
worldwide
year.
celebration and they still didn't do anything with it. So it's
Yeah.
still just there unchanged for like
we
over a
literally,
year. Just
we literally
weird.
had a Cell Saga celebration this year.
Plus, yeah, they
Saint
put
Saga
Cell and
too.
Boo in the artwork of the event, and they've just never done anything with it. It's weird.
Even if they had reopened it and added missions, I would have been happy. Like, do
Yeah.
something. You
We've
know?
had a celebration this year of like every single Z Saga, and they still haven't updated it. So
Crazy.
I don't know what to say. They just hate
just
it, I
forgot.
guess.
They forgot
They
it
do.
exists.
They do, yeah. All right, so last up for a trip down memory lane, just favorite moment on the podcast, and I'll just say me sniping Minato with the pizza. Very good favorite moment there. Goresh, we know you go way back with the podcast, so what is your favorite moment on the podcast?
Ugh, all right, yeah, this is what, episode 100. I was one of the original members
Yeah.
of this podcast going back
Yep.
before
Back when it was
episode
on
one.
everyone's channels. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was on
but-
other people's channels, yeah.
Literally before episode 1.
Yeah.
So there's like, I don't know, hundreds of hours of stuff I could pull from, but one that sticks to me is when we teased the Dokkan Awards. I remember we like during like the intermission or something on Twitch when we were streaming it. We teased it, and then everybody was reacting. Like that was fun for me. I enjoyed watching that.
Very cool. Ningen, what about you? Favorite moment on the podcast?
I have a couple of different ones that I think would be difficult to pick between, and it's because of the reason why they would be considered my favorites. Because obviously, like episode 1 was pretty big because I was one of the lucky people. I managed to I joined 5 9 right at the beginning. I think I was actually on a couple of the old episodes before it became like 5 9 became a thing. So the start was obviously very hype for me because at the time, obviously, it was a much smaller channel, so it was awesome that these people had like reached out to me and let me be part of the project. I know one of the anniversary episodes we did, I think it was for the 6th anniversary, was one of the ones where we had Nano on. So obviously that was awesome as somebody who kind of started my, when I first started playing the game, he was one of the first YouTubers I started watching. And then another one is obviously some of you guys might remember from a more recent episode during the 7th anniversary, as we were kind of briefly talking about. I was about 2,000 stones deep without pulling a single copy of the LR Gods. And then while we were doing the podcast, I decided to do another rotation. And that was the one where not only did I pull 2 of them in one multi, but then the 3+1, the free one at the end, got me another copy of them, and that was all while we were doing the podcast. So
yeah, I remember you made the comment like I just went from 0 to 79% in like 2 multis or something ridiculous.
So,
yeah,
so yeah, that was definitely pretty great.
It's pretty good. Minato, what about you? Favorite moment on the podcast?
It's difficult, right? There's like I feel like a lot of things that I may not even be remembering, unfortunately, just because I've personally been on for like on a lot of episodes.
Yep.
I would say, like you brought up, Joe, the pizza thing is kind of funny. Right?
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
One other thing, I just being the first time being on the podcast was just pretty awesome for me. It was like the first week I joined 5 9, and I just had a lot of fun being able to interact with a lot of these bigger content creators and just hearing their ideas directly and how the game actually is, their opinions and things like that. It's just very memorable for me, as when it's like my own personal, like, I guess, Dokkan, like YouTube career and stuff kind of really started going up a little higher, and hopefully from here on it still does the same, right? So
yeah, for sure. And I guess I can throw out another one too, just for me being so honored to host this podcast, and being someone that I'm only a little over a year of being a YouTube content creator, but just the moment that Sunblade first contacted me to join 5 9, like, this has been such an experience. And you guys are all people I've listened to for years. I've been a fan of 5 9 all the way through. I watched those old podcasts on everyone's channel, so to actually be here hosting with all of you is definitely like the greatest thing I could have ever asked for. So I'm very honored to be here. It's awesome.
It was like crazy because it's like literally the week before I was watching the podcast normally, and then who knew I'd just be on it the week after, right?
It's just random. Crazy.
But it happens, I guess,
Right. And that's just something, it's a message out to everyone else out there. If you're a fan and you're watching, but like if you get into YouTube, start content, like you could be here too. It's like, I'm definitely not like special. Like, I'm just a normal guy that loves Dokkan, right? Like, I am not special. And look what we got here. It is fun. And it's like, I consider you guys my friends, and it's fun. Goresh, you're about to chime in there.
Yeah, no, I was just remembering how we used to do the podcast like way back.
Yeah.
It used to be a 2-parter. We used to do Dokkan as the first half.
I remember that, yes.
Yeah, and then we used to join, and then we did Legends as the second half, and it was one take. And it was like 3.5 to 4 hours. I remember this.
I do, yep.
I had to literally clear I think it was Saturday, Sunday. I had to clear my day to do these. Like, it was, dude, I was like, all right, bro, like, at least it helped that we were earning like donation revenue and stuff from this, but like it was very tiring to do 4 straight hours, because like people, the one thing I will tell people is watching these podcasts or sort of like any videos that we do is it looks super easy. You just sit here and talk about the game, but it does like it does take a lot out of you just to do this for such a long period of time.
I remember listening to those old ones, and like halfway through, you'd like tag out, be like, all right, you ready for Legends yet? All right, now I'm coming on. And, because like people would talk about Legends and some would talk about Dokkan. And
yeah, and of course crazy. I did both. So I was.
You did both, of course. Yeah. So you had to clear the day. Yeah. Very, very cool. Anybody else have anything else they want to say about the podcast before we move on? All right. So we're going to the big finale. This is what you are waiting for. We've got some argued points in the community, and this comes from a Minato tweet. And the guests do not know. I know what's going to be asked, but they do not know what is going to be asked. So we're going to get their natural reaction. And I think on each question, we'll go Goresh and then Ningen and then Minato on this. So Goresh, just your natural reaction to this. Dragon Ball Saga is not worthy of being an anniversary theme. How do you respond to that, Goresh?
All right. So here's my take on this. So the thing with Dragon Ball Saga is I would say that most people who are, decent fans of the OG Dragon Ball are probably older, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think if you take a look at like the average age of the people who play Dokkan, right? Because it's not necessarily, Dragon Ball Saga is popular, therefore it would be popular in Dokkan, because it's not the same demographic.
Right.
I think the average age of people who play Dokkan is probably a lot younger than the average age of people who, have watched Dragon Ball in general.
Right.
So I could see the argument for that, just because a decent chunk, if not like maybe even as high as like 50% of people who are playing Dokkan have never seen Dragon Ball. So that I think could potentially be, a reason why they wouldn't push Dragon Ball Saga for a big ticket celebration like Worldwide or the anniversary. But I think if you are somebody who has actually seen Dragon Ball and you've seen all of it, and you're not somebody who's just focused on like the, I don't know, Dragon Ball Super colors, lights, and wizard beams only, then you probably would understand that it's a good series. So that's what I'll say about that.
All right. Ningen, what do you feel about that comment?
Well, I'm going to put it up on my screen right now. There you go. There's this, you'll have seen this image for sure on Twitter, but there's the tree meme. People who say OG Dragon Ball is not worthy get treed. But yeah, like, I'm personally not someone that gets super hyped about OG Dragon Ball Saga. But I think it's crazy to say that it's not worthy of being the anniversary. Like, people can make arguments that they don't think it should be because of various different reasons to do with, like, even stuff like Goresh was saying, right, about certain marketability, especially like for global. But like, to say that it's not worthy of being the anniversary when it is literally like, that's where Dragon Ball comes from. Like, even if you are not personally a huge fan of it, we wouldn't have all the stuff that we have now if we didn't have OG Dragon Ball. So to say that it's not worthy of being an anniversary, I think is crazy, because that if it was picked to be the theme for the anniversary, they would step it up. Like, the units would be crazy, the animations would be crazy. Like, if they chose to do it, I would see it being a very good celebration. So to say it's not worthy of being it, I think is crazy.
Yeah, like, is anybody complaining about this busted Android 8 that they just released? No, I don't think anybody's complaining about that. They just make them busted and it will be good, right? Minato, what do you think about the Dragon Ball Saga anniversary topic?
I do agree with Ningen's sentiment where, if, or you as well, right? If they make the unit really, really good, people are gonna want to summon it regardless. Like, I'll tell you, if you said like in July, like the Cooler movie was going to be the best stops for Worldwide or something, people would like have clowned on you and be like, no, it should be, it can't be Cooler, that sucks, it should be Vegeta or something, right? And then you see how well they did the Cooler celebration, right? And I'm sure, Cooler's not necessarily like, your blue Vegeta or something, well, they say the thing is that it's still technically Goku too, right? Like, even though it's Kid Goku, it's still Goku in that sense. So people will know the character. And I believe we had like those survey results that the global version showed. And a good around 50% or more of the player base actually summons based off of the unit and how many teams or how good they impact in difficult contents. So because of that, I feel like as long as the unit's like obscenely good, then with the really good animations, which is like the second part, how good the animations are, I think the unit would be able to do well, especially considering, if it's like Goku and Demon King Piccolo, right? That's a very, very high point in Dragon Ball, and it's considered a battle of fate moment. And I would say basically most, if not all, like fights from the battle of fate moment do deserve to be like a Dokkan Fest or could be like leading an anniversary, even if it's like the main unit. It could be part of the anniversary, right? We even had units like technically like 17 and Golden Frieza were an anniversary unit, for example, right? And that was a cool moment in my opinion, but I know a lot of people weren't like, like, oh my god, I can't wait to summon, right? My personal opinion on that, though, I think that it would do well for sure if they do it right, of course.
And to that point, I mean, if 17 and Gold and Frieza were actually good, then yes, people would maybe be more likely. The part of the reason is that they were not as hype and also just a bad unit. Like, so yeah. But I mean, Easy A could be a thing. So we'll see.
I know me and I know Goresh as well as like pretty big fans for the Ginyu Force. Yeah. I assure you, if Ginyu was not like nearly as good as he was, people wouldn't care, right? As much as they
100%.
If Ginyu was Raditz, then nobody would have cared. Right, which is why nobody cares about Raditz, because
Raditz was like stupid good, right? You can see the point.
Yeah. I would have been hyped for Raditz because I think he's a cool character and I want him to have a good card in the game. But he's so bad, I couldn't warrant summoning for him. So I mean, that's the thing. All right, well, let's go to our next question. So Goresh, you ready for another hot take here?
Let's go.
All right, items should be considered when evaluating units.
I don't see anything wrong with that statement. I mean, I think there's two different scenarios, I guess, you can evaluate units on. So, either with or without items. And I think there's nothing really wrong with evaluating unit from both standpoints. So I don't really have an issue with that. I don't know. Items are part of the game unless they ever come out with a stage that just simply doesn't let you use items or support memories in general, but they haven't done that yet. So.
Ningen, what do you think? Should items be considered when evaluating units?
Man, maybe in a way. I don't know. It's hard to say because obviously items are there and you can use them, but we've obviously seen events like, Cell Max where you can only bring a Sensu Bean. Red Zone, you can only bring one item. So it is worth considering, but it kind of just depends, I guess, what that interaction with the items is. Because, like, for example, if there's a unit who maybe they do lots of damage, but their defense is not particularly great. And so then when it comes to, say, if we're talking about like the hardest events, we'll ignore Cell Max because it is kind of a weird anomaly. But like the Red Zone toughest bosses, if a unit can only survive in that event if you have a defensive item constantly active, you can't do that in the Red Zone because you can only bring one and the most they last for is 2 turns. So it's probably worth considering to a certain extent, but I don't know. I guess it just depends like what item it is and how you'll use it. Because like all I'm really, I guess, trying to say is if a unit is only good if you have items to use, then obviously there are certain events that they won't be good in. But that doesn't then necessarily make them bad. It's just another thing I guess you have to think about. So units being super good without having to use items is obviously great. But there are certain events where, you get loads of items and you can string certain combinations together to make certain units really good. So I think it's just all a big part of the puzzle, I guess.
Okay. Minato, what do you think about that one? Items should be considered when evaluating units. Do you agree or disagree?
It does depend on the event, like they said. Me personally, I feel like if a unit could, like, if we're talking about like how good a unit is going to be in terms of their evaluation, if a unit can perform, on a similar level than a unit that, let's say like, I the wording is very weird. I think I did in there, but if a unit has really good performance, like on the same level of another unit, but then the second unit needs to have like an item up to do that, then obviously I feel like the first unit would be better because, maybe you're limited on items in certain events, like Red Zone where you have only 2. Cell Max, you only have like Sensu Beans, for example, right? And we don't know what kind of other restrictions like that they may have on future events. So it may be better in a sense to say, if a unit can be better without items, they're technically, in terms of like their pure passive and kit, the better built unit. But I don't really mind if you feel like, hey, I'm going to use items and just absolutely destroy this event with Cooler, double Weesup, and it's like, sure, it really depends on your play style and how you prefer units to be.
I just think you can evaluate them both ways. Like with or without items, there's going to be 2 separate evaluations. Like, why not just do that?
That's fair.
Yep, for sure. All right. Well, the next one, this is 3 of 4. So Goresh, Cell Max should not be used to evaluate units.
Well, the reason why I kind of do like that argument is because I just actually despise the locking mechanic. And I feel like that mechanic specifically just ends a lot of runs in that event. I remember when I was first trying to beat that event, I kept getting locked like in the worst possible ways. So even if I had full HP, I was forced to use my senzu beans. I was like, all right, this is just dumb. Like I just that mechanic is so dumb because it takes all control away from you as the player, right?
Yep.
So if you're like, I always talk about this in like the Bojack event and stuff like that, where, you know, obviously the last phase can lock you. And if you didn't specifically bring a senzu bean or whatever the Korin's herb or whatever the hell the item is called that lets you unlock yourself, like let's just say you have a character that isn't designed to take a super attack in slot 1, like if they're a floating character or that needs a super first, and you get locked in, guess what? You can't do anything about it. So I think that same mechanic being given to Cell Max, and then, you know, I guess they're kind of being quote unquote generous by giving you a senzu bean, by letting you unlock the character with the senzu bean effect. I guess you can make that argument, but I don't know. I also just think that Cell Max is an event that's designed to basically fodderize 97.5 whatever the hell it is percent of the game.
Yeah.
So it's just like I guess I agree with that statement. If I was gonna say if I agree or disagree and I had to pick one, I'd say I agree.
Okay. Ningen, what do you think about Cell Max?
I mean, I have my thoughts about the event, but in terms of the take itself, I 100% agree with it. Like, regardless of whether you like the event or not, I don't think it's a good way to value how good units are. It's fun to see how well they do in those events. Like, I like taking random units into that event for videos and stuff like that, but I don't think you could really say, like, if a unit is like dominating the red zone, is good in Super Battle Road, but then they get one shot by Cell Max's super attack, I don't think that's necessarily a detriment to that unit in general, since, as Goresh said, there's like 97% of the game or something can't survive his super attack. So it's a fun event to take units into. Obviously, the fact that you can dodge meant that we had some funny like builds and stuff when it first came out. People using like, you know, Pycon and using the Ghost Usher ability and stuff like that. It was quite fun. But yeah, it's not like they did already say as well, didn't they, in like one of the producer letter things or something like that, that they don't plan to make all like future difficult content on that level or harder. So then there's no real reason to rate units based by how well they do in that event. So it's a fun event to play, but yeah, I wouldn't consider a unit good or bad solely based on how good they are in the Cell Max event.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it, I think, too, is you can use it as a piece of the puzzle to show how good a unit is. Like, if a unit is able to go in there and like eat a super attack and like tear Cell Max in half with it, like their attack stats, then the unit is probably good based off of that.
Yeah,
alone.
Probably.
But I think there's other factors outside of the Cell Max event that you should consider when evaluating a character. Like, this is just one of the 10 different things you could use. So
yeah,
for sure. Minato, what do you think?
I mean, I was literally going to say that last thing where if you want to like use Cell Max as a part of like how good a unit could be, that's fine, but you shouldn't, in my opinion, solely based off Cell Max, because there's different situations for every unit. There's like bosses of different typings, they do different things. Some characters could be stronger in a certain event than another. Like, you know, so you know, like Pycon will be could be like actually more useful with against Cell Max than let's say maybe something like Broly where it can't dodge, or you know, other situations, right? Same thing with UI Goku. He actually be pretty good against Cell Max, but against Broly he doesn't dodge, right? So it just depends, kind of, right? But if you like take a unit into Cell Max and then he dies to a super attack, you can't be like, oh, the unit is terrible, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like most units in the game aren't designed to do that, right? Even like these brand new LRs, like even like Cooler, you know, sometimes Carnival Goku can't even eat those super attacks from him, right? So and that situation is kind of weird. And, you know, if a unit would have, like, say, an STR unit, like, has type advantage against, like, Cooler Core, but then they don't really do as well against Cell Max, right? They're good in different situations. There's also, like, Super Battle Road, right? Some units may be designed for, like, that kind of content where they get debuff and stun. And it really comes down to, you know, more so of how useful a unit could be rather than how good they could really be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of my thought on it is just in general, I wouldn't even think about it as evaluating a student or a unit in an event. I would think about it as evaluating the kit, and then based on What does their defense stat get up to? What does their attack stat get to? How long does it take to get there? Do they guard? What is their typing? Based on the unit's kit, then you could say, oh yeah, they're going to be good here, here, and here, but maybe not here. What you're doing is you're evaluating the kit and then figuring out where does that plug into the game? Where do you use that unit? That's kind of the way I look at it. And as you guys said,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, you're
finished.
good. No, I'm done. Cut me off.
I was
please.
I'm sorry.
No. Please cut me off. I'm done. I need to be done.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess so. But I would say, I would honestly say it may be better at this point because we have so many different types of events, different bosses do different things, to rate units based off of how good they do in that specific event, rather than maybe having it just as a general thing, because it's just so. Again, nothing else to say except these bosses do different things and units are good in certain situations.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's if you guys watch my really old Dokkan showcase, well, not even super old, but like fairly old Dokkan showcases, I used to do an evaluation system at the end of each video, and I used to because this was back when it was like either Super Battle Road or like Legendary Goku event, and those were the two types of events we had. It was short versus long events. Is how I evaluated the characters. It was short versus long. It was offense and defense. And then I think it was like versatility was the last category. Yeah. And then I would rate each unit out of 10 per category. And then they'd get a total score out of, I think it was like 50 or 60 or something like that. I think it was 50. There's 5 categories in total. And then that's how I would compare the characters to each other. It would be like out of the 50 ranking. So I think that probably is still the best way to do it, but we have way more different categories in the game right now, so it's going to be a lot harder to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I personally like doing this unit versus Broly and then some acts like different videos, just so I could see, okay, maybe they'll be specifically good here, but then not so good here. And then you can kind of get a general idea of the unit if you want, if you're like someone into like tier lists and stuff like that. But I like personally like seeing the good in units rather than maybe one situation that look bad and you're like, oh, this entire unit sucks, right?
Right.
100%.
All right, well, we got one more take to wrap up the show, and this is a pretty spicy one. So, Goresh, here you go. Apparently, defense is not as important as it is made out to be.
Well, I mean, I guess the first piece of the puzzle to unravel this one is to know, like, what does he mean by made out to be? I don't know what that means.
Let's just say in general, they're saying defense isn't as important as what people think, like as people play it out.
People in the community probably say like, I know a lot of people really, really, really like, oh, if this unit can take a super attack, they're way better than a unit that could do billions of damage or something, right?
Yeah,
at least that's what I'm understanding.
The general consensus of the community is that defense is much more important than offense, and it comes largely from the hybrid Saiyan side of Twitter. But
my bad. Okay, gosh, just so basically me directly.
Basically, what they're kind of saying is that they think defense is overhyped right now. So, would you agree or disagree with that? Maybe
I would disagree with it being overhyped. And I think the main reason is because both offense and defense have their place in the game. You kind of need both to be able to do anything, right? Yeah. Every character can't be AGL Golden Frieza. Imagine if you had a full team of AGL Golden Friezas, like you would probably die of old age before you beat an event. And then on the other hand, like every character can't be, I don't know, like what's a good example of like a complete glass cannon?
Yeah, like
cooler. No, not
Kyle
even like
Goku.
Blue Kyle Goku back in the day.
Yeah. Or like one of those characters that just like, or STR Vegito, right? Every character can't be STR transformed Vegito, otherwise you would die instantly. So you have to have a balance of both offense and defense. And I think that also comes in the effect of different characters, right? Obviously, like AGL Golden Frieza is designed for defense, and that's his role. Characters like STR Vegito are designed for offense, and that's his role. But I think having a balance is good, but I don't think the concept of defense is overrated. I think that's a dumb comment.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to hop in if that's fine.
No, go ahead, Minato. You can steal, and then we'll do Ningen last.
Yeah, Ningen gets screwed.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, birthday boy. Get out of here. I'm just kidding. But, hey, no, we're saving your comment for last because it's the best. It's your present. Okay, but I would say... I think that I would say they're more like equal than, one's better than the other. You can have a specific like preference where, oh, I like offensive units better. That's just how I like playing the game. Maybe someone's like, oh, I like maybe consistency, one and done with like defense. I just tank everything and just get through it. It really depends on how you feel on your personal favorite units. It could even be based off the character you like. You're a big Cooler fan, so you end up being, mega offensively player style. I said that super weird. I'm bad at this, but you get the point, right? Or like maybe you're a Gohan stan. A lot of Gohan units are really defensive, right? Guard stacking and stuff like that. And it also like depends, like Goresh did, the role. You have a unit like Golden Frieza doing the defense, but then you have other Final Form Cooler in slot 2 doing the offense, and then that really, is how team building does work in that essence. Some units have to do certain things. And that's all I have to say about it.
Okay, Ningen, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much everything that's been said. I like Minato said I could go last as my present, and then basically covered everything else that I was going to say. But,
Sorry.
But yeah, it is literally, it just comes from, the take itself just comes from this argument. Like Minato said, it's between the two different play styles. And we talked about that earlier a little bit, that it just comes down to your preference of play style. Because, yeah, if you don't mind a bit of inconsistency, like if you get bad RNG, then you might die. But if you're using a very heavy offense-based team, you can often destroy events, especially very quickly. And then if you're using very defense-orientated teams, it takes you a lot longer, but you're a little bit on the safer side. But yeah, I do consider, like, I personally am more of a fan of the offensive play style, but I still do like really good tanks. I always like to have a good tank on my teams. And the defensive playstyle works. I think they both have advantages and disadvantages, because obviously not every single unit, if you're going for like a full defensive team, not every single unit is going to be as good as like Golden Frieza. So the longer it takes you to beat an event, the more chances you have of that one unit that can't really take a super being the one that has to eat a super. So they both have their advantages and disadvantages, but you just have to kind of consider both when it comes to team building. So I think it's one of those things where there aren't really any wrong answers, because you can see screenshots of events being beaten, like I say, with a full offensive team, and it might have taken like 10 tries, but then they nuke the whole thing in like 5 minutes. And then you'll see screenshots of people doing like full turtle build teams and they still beat the event, but it takes like 25 minutes. So they both have their advantages and disadvantages. I would put them at a roughly equal in terms of importance, right? You have to have both. So there you go.
And we can go back to what we said with the original question, where it's like, it depends even on the event you're in, right? Maybe that unit that can't take a super attack, you have type advantage with that unit in the final phase, so you're more safe with that option, right?
Yep, for sure. So I pretty much agree with what everybody said, but I would say that defense is not overhyped. It's extremely important in the game. It's an important stat to have. So yeah, I would say I overall disagree with the statement, kind of like Rush does, right?
Well, that's the thing as well. You got to remember, if we have events now where like STR Broly can AoE you in slot 1, or Cell can super you in slot 1 for like 1.7 million damage, it is kind of stupid to say that defense isn't important when we have events that can do that. So
all right.
Oh, so sorry. I was going to add one extra thing too. And like, I think one misconception about just defense, because the comment you're reading literally just says defense, right?
Yes, it just says defense.
I would consider different utility too as defense, like dodge and like Pycon's active skill and like
damage
all these
reduction.
different, all these different
Meta Cooler healing.
Healing, like all these different utility and aspects of the game that a lot of these newer characters are doing. I would classify all those things as defense, like under the umbrella of defense. So,
yep, for sure, I would agree with that. Anybody else want to chime in before we wrap up for today?
I mean, even like ceiling, stunning, like attack lowering back in the day, all like basically defensive kind of base things, right?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. We still have Super Battle Road. So for Super Battle Road, you would say ceiling and stunning are defensive abilities as opposed to offensive. So,
for sure. All right. Well, that is going to do it for our show today. This has been episode 100 of the Dokkan Battle Podcast. I would like to thank our guests today, Minato, Goresh, the Masked Ningen. Thanks to Vilify for producing behind the scenes. My name is Joe Wags. It has been an honor hosting for you all today. Very privileged to be a part of this epic episode 100. Thanks to everyone for listening. We'll catch you all on the next one. See ya.